Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Horror movies get a bad rap. They're cheap thrills, mindless gore, not cinema, blah, blah, blah.
But we here at Sitting in the Dark know better. We know that horror is more than just jump scares and chainsaws. It's a reflection of our deepest fears, our anxieties, Okay, and there's a lot of jump scares and chainsaws.
Join us, Pete Wright, Tommy Metz III, Kyle Olson, and Keenan Diaz, as we cut into the dark heart of horror cinema.
Every episode, we explore a different facet of the genre, from survival horror to home invasions, from zombies to birds. We tickle the tropes, analyze the angles, and sharpen our own axes along the way.
We'll introduce you to the classics that shaped the genre.
And the modern masterpieces that are pushing the boundaries of terror.
Sitting in the Dark is your guide to navigating the terrifying, thrilling, and sometimes hilariously bad world of horror movies.
We'll help you understand why we love to be scared.
And maybe even convert you into a horror fan yourself.
So turn off the lights, close the basement door,
and join us.
Sitting in the Dark.
In a world where podcasts are a dime a dozen, one show dares to stand out from the rest.
The Film Board, a podcast unafraid to tell it like it is.
We're here for one reason and one reason only. Downloads.
That's right. We review new release movies because that's what gets people's attention.
But just because we're in it for the clicks doesn't mean we don't take our job seriously.
We're part of the Next Reel family of film podcasts, and we're proud of it.
Our reviews are just as insightful and thought-provoking as any of our other film podcasts.
It's just that this podcast is all about that sweet, sweet SEO.
The nectar squoze from the tree of Bing.
We're only human, but we're also creators.
And creators eat clicks to survive.
So if you want honest, unfiltered opinions on the very latest movies right on opening weekend,
delivered with the self-awareness of a team looking for downloads,
then tune in to the Film Board.
Where every download counts, but yours counts the most.
Coming up on The Devil's Details, the devil has all the best tunes in The Devil and Daniel Mouse. Good morning, Star, and welcome to another episode of The Devil's Details, a show where we dig up, decipher, dissect, and deconstruct the many forms of the devil. One of my names is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I sometimes go by Keenan Diaz.
And we're just two lost souls hitchhiking down the highway to hell. And yeah, so this week we're doing something a little different. We're watching a cartoon called The Devil and Daniel Mouse. Made back in the 70s, and you can absolutely tell, I mean that in a good way. This aired as a Halloween special in 1978. Aside from the devil, it doesn't really feel that Halloween-y.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the devil's year-round, children.
Right, yeah. Hell is imminent at all seasons.
No, Christmas, Easter,
yeah.
Arbor Day, too.
Don't let your guard down for 1 second, or he'll get you. But I missed this one. I never saw it growing up. I saw a lot of, other Halloween specials that had aired before my time. In fact, I think most of the ones I grew up with were late 70s, early 80s. I had Disney's Halloween Treat, Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, Raggedy Ann and the Pumpkin Who Couldn't Smile, Halloween is Grinch Night. Do you remember those?
No, why couldn't the pumpkin smile? What would Raggedy Ann and Andy have to do with it?
Hilarity ensued. That's all I know. That's all I remember. He was a pumpkin who couldn't smile, and he cried pumpkin seed tears.
Aww.
Yeah, I think it's nobody wanted me. He's the misfit pumpkin that nobody wants, I think. But did you grow up with Halloween specials? Do you have a favorite?
No, I don't think. Besides the Great Pumpkin, I don't think I really watched a lot of them. Yeah, my dad was creeped out by ghosts.
Oh,
he didn't let us watch Beetlejuice, let alone where ghosts are your friends now. That's crazy.
That's dogs and cats living together.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard this one either. So the Devil and Daniel Mouse is by Nelvana, though, who I do know, and I have very fond memories of them.
Yeah,
because our house was very much a Care Bears house.
Aha, okay. I do remember, and apparently, I think it's pronounced Nelvana because I watched a little making of thing, and they kept saying Nelvana. But
those Canadians,
you know, and no, Canada, we love you, and Canadians, if you're listening, help, please.
We're sorry.
I'm blinking slowly. Please help. every day is Halloween now in the United States.
Right. Yeah, but so much of our animation when we were growing up was Canadian, if not from Nelvana, but from other places. And like a lot of the early, say like mid-90s, like anime dubs are from Canada, which is why Ash Ketchum and Sailor Moon say sorry instead of sorry.
I never realized, but like going back and like, you remember that show, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was, you go back now and it's like, oh yes, this was filmed in Canada. Yes.
Oh, of course. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go, folks. Like, hey, it's almost like we've been friends with Canada for like a really, really, really long time. And why would anyone want to break that friendship? I don't know.
They burned down the White House, and then we've been friends ever since.
Yeah. There you go. Bet you didn't know that, folks, huh? Yeah. Anyway, but yeah,
in the War of 1812.
Yes. War of 1812. Let's be clear, in case anyone wants to use that for ammunition. War of 1812. Yes. But yeah, this movie wasn't one of those like Halloween staples for me. I learned it. I learned about it from a podcast called the Cartoon Lampoon Podcast, which is like your typical film podcast, but for animation, and it's hosted by 3 animators and who get like into like the production and the making of cartoons, along with like stuff about the story and everything. And they have an episode on this one. I highly recommend you check all of their episodes out, though. I don't think they're podcasting anymore. I think they've had to close the show just because they've moved on to different like animation jobs, and so they're no longer working together, which is, it's like that's how, animators are. They kind of like, go from place to place. I say this like I know how it is for animators. I don't. But yeah, I think that was the situation. They've kind of like moved on to different like employment opportunities, I think.
Cool. So Cartoon Lampoon?
Yeah, Cartoon Lampoon Podcast, yeah.
I could see why they would be interested because, despite being a relatively short and I guess fairly obscure cartoon, it has some very impressive animation, especially with the character design of the devil, which is probably why you were drawn to this for our show.
Yeah. No, and the animators speak about that exact thing. They say specifically like the devil's lips and mouth as he talks. But yeah, we're going to definitely get into that. But yeah, like Keenan said, this film is by a company called Nelvana. You may have heard of it, or if you didn't, you'd be surprised to know that it provided a lot of your childhood cartoons. Like you mentioned a couple, like you mentioned the Care Bears. Also, the Care Bears movies. There was like 2 or 3 movies with some pretty scary stuff. Like formative in my growing up. Babar, Pippi Longstocking, Franklin. Let's see. It did. Oh, of course, it did Beetlejuice. That's probably how I remember it.
The Strawberry Shortcake specials.
I remember those. Yeah, like very, very young. Incredible Crash Dummies. Okay, wow. Okay,
I had those Crash Dummies. Those were such a choking hazard. I don't know how they got away with that.
Those were, I mean, like more than a choking hazard. Like, hey kids, your parents have too much peace of mind. Buy these really expensive toys and break them immediately because that's what you're supposed to do with them.
You're supposed to break them and choke on them, yes.
Like on your parents' expensive walls and furniture and things like that, and then make them buy more Crash Dummies. Yeah, it's perfect. But yeah, and Little Bear and Paddington, like all the bears and the Berenstain Bears. Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, they did and the Family Dog. You remember that?
I remember Family Dog. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh geez, I'm just okay. I got to get off of this Wikipedia.
Just reading the Wikipedia
nostalgia just going right through me. But yeah, let's get into this film. So I mean, we picked this obviously because this is our season of The Devil and probably the most famous of which is The Devil and Daniel Webster.
Right.
And this is kind of like a play on that. This is Devil and Daniel Mouse, which very very early on we're going to be like, well, why isn't this called The Devil and Jan Mouse? Because it's mostly about them two. But I guess that's kind of like The Devil and Daniel Webster too. It's like it's more about the devil and Jabez Stone. So
right, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we open on looks like both a cityscape and a forest, right? We got trees that have kind of like morphed into buildings. We're supposed to understand that this is like the woods with all these woodland creatures, but it's also like New York or LA, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the 70s version of New York, which is dirty and dingy and everything's falling apart and it's all crap.
Yeah. right?
Like
Whereas a
The
comedian,
Exorcist and The French Connection.
exactly. But like in film, it's always like beautiful crap, you know?
Right.
It's like they're singing a song about Skid Row, and you're like, that garbage looks majestic, right?
I want to live here.
Yes, right. I wanna be in New York. Like if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. You know, that type of thing, right? But yeah, we drop in on these two little mice, Jan and Dan. Daniel Mouse, he's the titular character, even though it's not really about him, like I said, and even though he's not a titmouse.
Because the titmouse, do you know this?
Is
Is a bird.
Oh, well, that's also why he's not one then.
Titmouse is a little bird.
Yeah, there we go. Right? Geez, English language, way to just trick people. Sheesh. Yeah, that's a bird because it's a bird. But Jan and Dan are folk musician mice.
Right.
Think like the Carpenters, but mice.
And wait, are Jan and Dan Mouse, they're a couple, right?
I think they're a couple. I don't think they're like brother and sister.
Okay, not the Carpenters, but they're brother and sister.
Okay, so yeah, think the couple, think the Carpenters, but not brother and sister also.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay, good. Okay.
There we go. Right. But they're playing to a nearly empty house / tree.
Slash bar. It's some kind of bar
right.
inside of this. Yeah, no nightclub inside of this tree stump.
Yeah. The manager of this tree kicks them out on their ears, on their large mousy ears, after their last customer walks out. I forgot to mention the manager is a skunk. And the last customer is a giant centipede because all the animals are the exact same size in this movie.
Right, except for one.
Except for one, yeah. Right. But that made me think, we see that a lot, right? Like Mickey Mouse, who is a mouse, is the same size as Donald and Goofy, right? And we're just fine with that, folks. We're just fine. We don't ask questions.
Yeah, because the mouse is the size of Donald, who is a duck, and Goofy, who is a goof.
Yeah.
However big he is. So originally Goofy's a dog, but I think most people now accept he's a goof.
They name him as like a separate species. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then Pluto is smaller than the mouse, yeah.
And Pluto is smaller, yeah.
Yeah, so they hang out with Horace and Clarabelle, and they're all the same size, right?
Yeah. So that's this era of like, animals. It's like, it's like they're anthropomorphic or whatever, right?
One of our animals will be much bigger.
Yes. Also these mice and skunks and centipedes and other woodland creatures all have very 70s style hair and facial hair and clothes. It's crazy how like even on anthropomorphic animals, that style is so distinct because sometimes like they only have one thing, like a vest or they're not wearing any clothes. It's just the hair, but you immediately see, right? Yeah, I don't know if you can do that with like the 90s, maybe the 80s, but like I don't know.
Geez, what would the 90s be? A puka shell necklace, or the grunge era? Just like because that's still kind of in like a plaid shirt over a band T-shirt. Like people still dress like that, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, the manager sends them away. Their type of music is dead. It's old. It's washed up, kaput. The kids today want rock and roll. They want disco. They want that new stuff.
Yeah, they want the stuff that the devil listens to. That's devil music, right?
I did not pick up on this until Keenan told me earlier.
Yeah.
This is all about how the devil's music is the new music that we're gonna hear.
Right. So Dan and Jan are. You say that they're kind of 70s-ish, but they look a little bit more like the late 60s. They look a little bit more like folk singers, right? So Peter, Paul, and Mary or something like that. Yeah. So and then they're singing this song that we're gonna hear at the end of the piece as well. Right. But it's how does it go?
And look where the music can take you.
Look where the music can take you.
Yeah.
So it's a singer-songwriter type song as opposed to the other ones where we're going to see Jan being taken away and she's given music she didn't write even, right?
Yeah. And high production value.
High production value. She has producers who work and they craft an image of her and so the movie is really like talking about, hey kids, the devil music is today's music, and the music of your parents, that's the good music. Your parents' generation, that's the good stuff.
I missed this message. I'm kind of glad I did, but like, wow, yeah.
Yeah, like Dylan and the Mamas and the Papas.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be listening to, kids. It's 1979, man. Listen to the songs from 1966.
Yeah. None of this punk or this hip hop or any of this stuff.
Exactly. EDM.
What does that mean? I don't understand it, so I don't like it. Anyway.
Yeah, but we're going to talk, a little bit later about, not later in the season, I mean, and beyond about like the connection between our ideas of Satan and rock music. And,
yes.
At first the blues, and then any of the music that's the devil's music is whatever's cool and hip now.
Right. And that's that is a saying. It's like the devil has all the best tunes, right? I think that means something else, but like I also like how it applies here.
Right.
So yeah, after they get fired, they're walking through the forest, the streets, I guess. This is supposed to be like Skid Row downtown, down on your luck.
Yeah.
And Daniel's the positive one. He's trying to cheer Jan up. He really believes that dreams come true, magic can be real, right? And
all that bullshit.
Yeah. Come to a surprise there. Right, and then just got to keep trying, right? Got to keep trucking, right?
Keep trucking, yeah.
Yeah. Like that song, that folksy song.
What song?
I don't know. Got to keep trucking.
You know what keep on trucking means, Lester.
I think I know now. Anyway. But actually, right now, I don't know why, Daniel leaves Jan in the middle of the woods.
Right.
He's like, you wait here. I'll be right back. Like, go home first. Because he goes, it's like he's going to, like, I'm going to pop into the 7-Eleven and get something, or I'm going to, like pay for our gas. You just wait here in the car. He's like, wait here in the middle of the fucking woods. And I'm going to go, we come to find he's going to sell his guitar. But it's like, that's not a thing that takes, like a couple minutes to do,
Yeah, I wonder if he's like trying to hide that from her or something. Him sacrificing his dream for them to have money or what have you. He doesn't.
Well, sure, but bring her home first is what I'm saying. They're halfway home,
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like our little forest city. So it's a city made out of tree stumps as far as we see, but they can basically walk like a block away and they're in the wilderness, which is super interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the wilderness is a cityscape when it needs to be a cityscape, and it's wilderness when it needs to be a wilderness scene.
Right. Yeah. So they're little.
Yeah. But we need her to be out in the middle of these spooky woods where the tree branches are like claws reaching for her, so that she can say to no one, "I'd give anything to be a rock star."
Right.
All right. Not I'd give my soul, because this is a kid's movie.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. In a lot of the Nelvana, how do you say it? Nelvana?
Nelvana,
yeah. Because Canadians say pasta. They don't say pasta.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, they think it's pretentious. My boyfriend studied in Canada, and he would say pasta, and they're like, you sound like you're trying to be so fancy. Pasta.
I mean,
pasta.
true, right? Like we say, like if I went to you and I said, oh, hey, do you want to go see Les Miserables? No.
Right, say The Miserables.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an American.
The Miserables.
But yeah, in a lot of the Nelvana dubs of like anime and stuff, they would be like, because they're for kids, they'd be like, I will destroy him, as opposed to I will kill him. Or
right.
It's like, well, destroy, that still means kill, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very subtle, very subtle thing. Like you notice it now. Like when you grow up, it's like we're all doomed. It's like okay, doomed. I okay. Yeah,
that's interesting. I hadn't picked up on that. Yeah, I'd give anything to be a rock star.
Yeah, it's a kids movie, right? Speaking of which, what kids movie would be complete without our other titular character, the devil? That's a dumb joke. But I actually learned about the devil from those old Disney shorts, right? Like I wasn't learning about him in church, right? I know some churches that's all they seem to talk about, but like mine just talked about peace and love, right? Treat others as you would like to be treated. But no, like that's how I learned about it. I think it was the Donald Disney short where you got the devil and the angel on the shoulder. Yeah. That was my first devil, I think.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, here's our devil rising up out of the earth like a good devil should in a pillar of fire. Very nice, very Bible. Looking decidedly reptilian.
Yeah, what is he?
Yeah, I don't know if he's supposed to look like a specific animal. He's like too far anthropomorphized,
Yeah.
Like we're talking about Mickey Mouse, and I would also include like Bugs and Daffy, like on the spectrum between like total human and total animal, they're more on the human side. They walk upright. Right. They have like human proportioned limbs, like Bugs is different from Thumper in Bambi.
Right, yeah.
Right? Mickey is different from Stuart Little, right? The fox in Fox and the Hound is different from the fox in Robin Hood. One of them, is a cute little fox, and one of them might have made you feel things. You heard about that? Like,
Have I heard about that?
Oh, okay. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that fox is sexy fox.
I mean, like he is the I think like the OG of it's like people being looking at this guy and be like, wow, okay, yeah. Never thought I'd think things about a fox, but
Yeah, he and Marion have these close-ups where they're not just in love. They're clearly making bedroom eyes for them, which for them I guess is a warren in the middle of the woods or something. So some hovel or something. But yeah, they are. Robin and Marion know what sex is. Let's just say it that way.
Absolutely, without a doubt. But my point, this devil is supposed to represent some sort of reptile, I feel like. We even get a frame of him like flicking out his forked tongue before he fully emerges from the flames. And it's clear he's supposed to be some sort of predator because he's dressed like a producer.
Yeah, a music producer.
Yeah, right? But no, what do we think of this devil? His design, his voice, the way he moves. I realize, because like it's a cartoon and we should also comment on the animation.
Yeah, his proportions are odd. So he's this giant one. He's twice or three times as big as them, right? But he is supposed to be some kind of lizard, I guess. He has this weird white thing in the back of his head that looks like horns sometimes. And
right.
Sometimes it looks like male pattern baldness, sort of that horseshoe around. But I guess it's like a frill or something.
Like a lizard frill thing.
Yeah. So he's kind of, I don't know if he's a specific lizard, but he also has this, long snout, but he has this like kind of triple chin thing that makes him look like one of those lizards that will expand their throat to look big, for the ladies, to get the attention there, but he definitely has a tail that makes him a lizard or some kind of reptile or a skink or something,
Yeah, very, very imposing, very, very threatening, looking like he could swallow both Daniel and Jan in one bite.
Oh, well, that's a good point, too, because his mouth is gigantic.
Yes.
And like unlike a lizard or say even like with a big mouth like an alligator, an alligator's mouth or a lizard's mouth kind of just pops up and down, but he has curly sort of lips, and so like the majority of his face is this curly mouth, so he can kind of smirk and like seem to lick his lips without his tongue even coming out.
Right. Yeah. It almost feels like he's in a different movie, like in a good way.
Yeah.
Like I know each character is animated like by a different animator.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to know how animation works, but I do like remember that. But I feel like his animator was given different direction. Like our devil here moves very smoothly. Everything flows from one pose to the next. All of his poses are languid and sensual. Cartoon Lampoon podcast made special mention of his lips and the lip syncing. And his lips and teeth and smile are like the driving force of this character.
Right, like maybe they started with the mouth first and then built the character around it.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, but oftentimes you have the voice, usually, unlike what Mrs. Doubtfire says, you have the voice first, So obviously you can do that at the same time where you might be designing the character and talking to the actor and directing them. But you're syncing the actual voice movements to what the actor has given. So that probably goes a long way too. Yeah.
Yes. But to kind of go back to what you were saying, like talking about like how a reptile's mouth just kind of goes up and down.
Right.
It's like, folks, imagine if an alligator had lips, right, and could like smile at you, right? That's what this looks like. And he gives Jan his card. It says Devil May Care Productions, B.L. Zebub.
Like B.L.
Yes.
Yeah.
Folks, part of this show is sort of like ranking the devil's aliases and disguises, and I actually tend to like it when it's not so subtle, right? As long as nobody then discovers it later, right? Like make it obvious and then never mention it again, right? Don't be like, what was it, Angel Heart, where, Robert De Niro is Louis Cypher, and we're all like, okay. And then later, like, Mickey Rourke is like, Louis Cypher, Louis Cypher. Louis Cypher. I'm like, yes, we get it. We got it the first time.
I didn't get it the first time.
But I love that kind of stuff, right? But don't like for me, don't do that. Like don't like point to it afterwards, right?
Right.
But even if you do that, like I much prefer that to, remember back in our like Exorcist show, we talked about that new character in the 40th anniversary edition of the book, right? Father Lucas.
Yes.
It was like obviously a bad guy. He's obviously a devil or the devil, but like the hints that William Peter Blatty gave us were like so vague and confusing. He smoked Gauloises cigarettes. He made sure to tell us that there were different brands that Damien smoked. He had long nicotine-stained teeth.
Right.
A balding with red hair, dandruff, and egg stain on his shirt. But he's obviously like a demon interfering with Damien's dream, trying to like, tell him to call off the exorcism.
Yeah.
But none of those things, dandruff, egg stains. Oh, he had crutches because he broke his leg in a fall, which I guess. But, Blatty spends so much time describing this guy. Like, I don't think, the Blatty 40 years on realized he gave more description to Father Lucas than to his hero, Damien. And he's like, look, egg stains. And I'm like, Blatty, I don't know what you're trying to do. I mean, I know who this guy is, but your clues are not helping, Yeah. But
and it's also so little going because there's nothing to do with the rest of the plot, so there's nothing for you to do but try to solve this riddle of what this guy is.
Yeah. But all that to say, this devil knows how to give us a nice wink and then never mention it again, right? But folks, he's not even my favorite character here. You'd think, right, in the show about the devil. But no, this devil, we'll call him BL, right, has a toady, an assistant named Wheeze Weasel, who also pops up out of the ground with a slightly less impressive fanfare. I think it's like a bugle doing Pop Goes the Wheel, I think. Yeah. And we were talking about like animation. The animator for Wheeze has him moving like a weasel or one of those like small long animals like a ferret or a mongoose.
Right.
Almost like a snake sometimes. He sort of becomes a comet with a long tail, and he like zips around characters, and the tail curls around like his wake, his trail, right? And he appears like over their shoulder, like he does here with Jan. And that's his like sinister
wrapping around her like a mink stole but alive. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And that's his like sinister animation. But I almost feel like he has two animators because like his other thing is like mugging and pulling faces and doing these like hapless, like put upon poses like Wile E. Coyote.
Right.
Right. He switches very quickly from sinister to silly, even in the scene. But there you go. Like we got three distinct characters animated very differently. And these two, like Wheeze and BL, were definitely given the most love and attention, I think.
Right.
It's so great doing cartoons. There's no resting. Every single motion, every single like facial tick took hours, weeks, months to get in there. So they're going to make sure like they all tell a story. And there's a bit where BL, the devil, snaps his fingers and he says contract to Wheeze, who then snaps his fingers, imitating him. And these like shapeless spirits sort of like float up with the contract. And Wheeze snatches it from them so resentfully, like I'm a toady, but I'm higher in the pecking order.
Right. Well, that's something to say. So Wheeze Weasel is an actual weasel of this earth, apparently. He is not a demon. He doesn't come from hell. So he comes out from like the floor, but like as a digging weasel would or something.
Like a flesh and blood weasel, yeah.
Right, yeah. So he works for the devil, but I guess it is kind of like a familiar or like on What We Do in the Shadows, like the human familiar or something.
Right.
He wants to become a vampire, but the vampires have such contempt for them.
Right. It seems like that. It seems like he's kind of like in between Jan and Dan's world and the devil's world.
Right.
Yeah. But like, and I also like how he's so disdainful of the other like hellish denizens, right? He's like, oh, you guys are like scum that I scrape off my shoe, right? Even though like the devil treats him like that.
Right.
And it's so quick, but someone wrote that, someone put it up in the storyboards, and someone animated it, right? And there's no lines here. So, and I know like people like to think of, the voice actor as the one who defines the character. But Cartoon Lampoon Podcast like talks a lot about how animators are just as much actors too, right?
Absolutely.
And this was an acting choice by them to have Wheeze be like mean to these like lower hell spirits.
Right. All of the really successful animation houses have stories like that where as they're developing, even before they get to script or like writing down what the dialogue, like they are acting them out. So the earliest cartoon studios where that's really documented is at Disney, where he was focusing on character animation. And so he would like act out the duck. He called him the duck. Act out the mouse. He would call him the mouse and that kind of thing. And then even like the Fleischer brothers, Coco the Clown, which is one of the early,
Yep.
He was rotoscoped. That was Dave Fleischer in a clown costume. So they they had real footage, and he just did this footage of them, and then they traced over it to rotoscope it.
Yeah. So acting has been part of animation since the very beginning.
Yep.
Even before the voice was introduced.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got our Faustian contract here. Sort of like expands like a CVS receipt, or like you were saying something like ticker tape or something.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It like comes up out of her hands like an adding machine, right? It doesn't expand at the bottom, so like the more that she reads down, then there becomes like new stuff at the top, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's very different. The idea that like in the other ones in the Faust contract, our Fausts understand what is in the contract, but they don't really take it seriously, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we can more definitively place the blame on them.
Right, like Dr. Faustus is like, oh, okay, you're going to give me all the knowledge of the universe, etc. Like, I already have all the knowledge of the universe, and I don't know if God really exists. And so
right, I don't even believe in hell, so yeah, sure.
Exactly. I don't believe in hell, right? And so that becomes the basis there. But he's not. He's a learned person. He's not being tricked, really, right?
No.
And I guess in any three of our Fausts.
Yeah, all three of our Fausts, and I say this a little bit later down the page, all three of our Fausts deserve to go to hell.
Right.
Like, and it's like them making a contract with the devil was inevitable,
Right.
just because of who they were.
Right.
And our other, Goethe's Faust is like, what is he? It's like I don't even care if hell exists. I don't believe that even the devil can give me anything to make me happy. So, like, I'll make a bet with you. It's like if you can make me truly happy, then you get my soul and you can take me to hell. And he's like, but that'll never happen, right?
That'll never happen, right? It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder about this, like. So it becomes in the Devil Ands, right? The Devil and Tom Walker is somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Right. But contracts are so different in like the time of Americans. Like in, I was going to call him Rip Van Winkle. That's not his name. Washington Irving. In Washington Irving's times, right? Now contracts are more part of not every day necessarily, but if you're a merchant, if you're someone who is literate in colonial America, you're some kind of burgher or merchant or financier, like you have been exposed more to contracts than certainly people in Kit Marlowe's time, right?
And even
time,
and even then, like back in Marlowe's time, like remember he added that line, it's like make it out as a deed of gift, and that made all the the regular folk in the audience laugh because that's like a standard contract thing back then. But they would update that for the Daniel Webster. They'd be like this would be more of a contract that we would be familiar with.
Yeah, and contracts get more complicated, and we're used to once we get to the 20th century, like the Devil and Daniel Webster, we're used to having to deal with contracts for like mortgages and things like that, and loans. Even to run a farm, you need to have loans to get a seed crop and that kind of thing, right? And just like to have those things around, and so people are more familiar with them, and they're also more familiar with the idea that you get screwed over by people who understand the contract better than you.
Yes,
and the contract itself becomes complicated. So by the time we're in the 70s, I think even lay people have heard at the time of the Devil and Daniel like of crazy showbiz contracts that screw people out of the rights to their own music or screw people out of the rights to their book. Like that has become much more in the everyday understanding of contract law.
Yes, yeah. And so in order to update the joke, we make this thing look like a CVS receipt, and she can't possibly like read, let alone understand, right? Like it's like even read all of it, right?
Right. Yeah. Even to know which questions to ask about this. So yeah, she just says like, oh well, I'll just have to give up on this. Right?
Yeah, she's like, oh, I give up. Can I trust you? And the devil's face morphs into, I don't even know what this is supposed to be. It actually looks more disturbing. Do you see this?
Like his eyes sort of blinking one at a time and all sorts of crazy things. Yeah.
It looks like he's supposed to be. Like it's supposed to be a picture of like this saintly cherub, but it keeps the face of like the facial shape of the devil, so it looks very, very like gross and disturbing. It looks kind of like the coachman from Pinocchio.
Yeah, like it's getting closer to the camera and it's this wide lens that's distorting him. Yeah. So when I went to grad school at UCLA, I had a contracts and negotiation class. And it was a producer's class, but a lot of screenwriters would take it. But by the end of the quarter, I was the only one who wasn't required to take the class who stayed in.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's just so complicated. It's so dull and boring in some ways, to try to read them. But my teacher would sort of explain them to you and like why contracts have gotten so complicated. So people didn't design the contract system to screw people over, and a lot of it is defensive. Like somebody messed up somewhere and they didn't put the clause in properly, and so now everybody has to sign that clause. So essentially, like the terms and conditions that you have today, or when you're signing up to get a job at Walmart or something really low stakes like that, right? You still have to sign these gigantic contracts, right? Yeah. And it's like, what is any of this for? And it's because someone somewhere decades ago screwed over some company somewhere, so now every company has added this into the boilerplate, of it. And my contracts teacher called it a lot of it belt and suspenders. So we're saying the same thing 2 or 3 different ways, just so like, oh, if maybe you get a judge to disagree with this part of it, the belt, oh, we're still holding our pants up with our suspenders.
Gotcha.
And it just gets so complicated, and then you're like, well, all of this is just designed to screw me over, which maybe it is, but maybe it's necessary, but it just becomes like completely indecipherable, unreadable.
Yeah, they're like on one side. They have all of that lingo. If I pick up what you're putting down, to make sure something that happened, it doesn't happen again. Right. Like there used to be no rules that said a dog can't play basketball, but now every basketball contract.
Yeah. Now we got to litigate against it. Yeah.
Just because that one guy.
Yeah. Or, one company gets screwed one time, and now there's things in the contracts that say, like, because when you were doing movies or music and you're like, I want to buy the recording of your music, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're replacing LPs with cassette tapes now.
Right.
And like, oh, you didn't say cassette tapes. You said recording, and that's the LP, and so I get it. And then every music company goes, well, we're never going to let that fucking happen ever again.
Yeah.
So now the terminology is something like in any media now known or heretofore devised throughout the known universe, it's something like like
I love that it actually says that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something quite like that. And then you read a contract for this, I'm like, well, is that normal? And like, yeah, it is actually.
Yeah. And it's like, we might think that it's like a little excessive, but then I mean, right now, folks, we're going through another strike, the SAG-AFTRA strike for AI being used in video games.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because that's another thing. It's like, you never said no rules about AI that wasn't invented back then.
What about an AI dog?
Yeah. What about an AI dog playing AI basketball?
Right, but I don't want to cut you off because that if anyone's interested, that AI idea is actually really interesting. Sorry,
yes.
You used to be able to go in once and we record you once and that's the movie, right? But now they're doing other things.
Right, and that's kind of like the concern for a lot of actors and artists and stuff like that is like, for example, like a voice actor could go in and record their lines, and now they have like AI, like you could train somebody's voice on an AI bot, or you could train an AI bot on somebody's voice, and then suddenly now you don't need that actor for other episodes, which means that actor doesn't get to work anymore.
Right.
Which is a big problem. So that's what like people are fighting for is like my voice, my image, cannot be used without my consent.
Right. Because the current language is like, oh, we can do stuff with your image because we don't want actors saying like, hey, you cut out the line in between these two lines, you made me look silly. But that's very common, right? So like, editing and changing your lines and manipulating your performance. But that's the old language. But now there's this new thing. So like, yeah, you could do anything with my image. And my voice. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's it's a scary time. And so we're fighting for that.
Right. Yeah. So we're in this world in the 21st century, or here, let's just say in 1979 when they're making the Devil and Daniel Mouse, right? Where people are just reading contracts over and over and over again, and they're starting to get this point where it's just like, well, you can't really read everything, right?
Yeah.
Like how many terms and conditions do you click on? How many privacy notices do you actually read?
Yeah, I cannot guarantee that I have not signed away my soul to Apple or to
Disney,
because I don't read those things.
Right? Like, you would have to be reading dozens of hours of your life every year just to live. Yeah.
By the time you're finished reading them, they got a new one because of an update.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Jan is just like, what could this possibly be in here?
And Jan signs with her blood. We don't know the terms of the contract yet, but the devil tells Wheeze to give this lady his special attention, and then disappears in a cloud of fire. And while Jan's luck seems to be turning around, we look in on Daniel Mouse. He goes down to the pawn shop. The guy's like, want to buy a guitar? He's like, no, I want to sell one. He's like, that's what I was afraid of. And then we pan out, and there's just like all of these guitars. I feel like that's like a commentary on, it's like everybody wants to be a rock star.
Or they sell their dreams. Everyone abandons their dreams.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But now he's heading back to where he left her in the middle of the woods. But she's not there anymore. She's trying out new outfits with Wheeze, who is like her manager now?
Yeah, I guess the devil is like the agent, and now we have her contract, so we got her, right? But then now Wheeze is going to be running the day to day.
Yeah, right. We get this cute scene of them like trying out clothes. Up to this point, like Wheeze has dressed, like Fredo Corleone, I think, like the manager of some Mickey Mouse nightclub.
Right.
And he's suddenly disgusted by that. Yeah. He snaps his fingers, and now he's. I don't know how else to describe it, but how Cartoon Lampoon described it. If you've ever seen like Ninja Sex Party, Dan Avidan, a.k.a. Danny Sexbang, has this sort of thing. It's like this spangly leotard. He snaps his fingers again, summoning up a whole band. I think based on what happens later, they're not demons either. They're like band members that he teleported there.
Right. Sorry, I'm looking up Ninja Sex Party, which is new to me, and luckily I didn't
they're
get
great.
porn. I just got this directly, which is great. Yeah, very, very glam, like showy. Yeah. This is, I guess, this is a contemporary band, but they look very much like what you think of when you think of like glam,
like Ziggy Stardust,
and there's ninjas.
And there's ninjas, yeah. There's a ninja, yeah.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, so they get this band, and they are also little anthropomorphic animals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is our first big number, sort of like Tina Turner-esque.
Yeah, she's wearing like this fringe, and like the magic brings on this microphone and stuff like that. And I should say these songs are great.
Yes, all of them are. And like this one, this plays as the story kind of plays out. Dan comes over, but Wheeze turns him away. And, the song's still playing as Jan sort of like rises in the ranks and becomes more popular. We get this like montage of like fame and fortune, and Wheeze is always with her, but Dan is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and we get shots just about in every single scene of Wheeze going, yes,
like
excellent.
Everything's going according to plan, right? Yeah. And suddenly, more time has passed. This movie just like rips right along, folks. We got a big old mansion, and Dan, what are you doing? Daniel! Well, he has come to say goodbye, but once again, Wheeze won't even let him see Jan. He actually becomes the Marley knocker. And
you could explain what a Marley knocker is.
No, but like people don't know what a Marley.
That sounds like a booby to me, Lester.
A Marley knocker. Like how Jacob Marley's face morphed into the door knocker on Scrooge's front door. Yeah, that's what Wheeze does.
That's what a Marley knocker is.
Yes, and Daniel isn't freaked out by this.
That's a good point. Even Scrooge is freaked out by it.
Yeah, right? And he thinks everything's humbug. But no, I like this movie's just clipping along. He's like, we don't have time for Dan to question this. But no, he came to say goodbye, and Wheeze is like, yeah, sure. Have a nice trip. But we get a peek at this interview that Jan is having. Jan admits it's looking very like you said, like Dolly Parton. Right?
Yeah, once we stop the montage has her like appearing in a bunch of different types of costumes and a bunch of different like personas, and all like she could sing any popular music. And then once we get to this part during her interview, because we've seen her like with an armful of Oscars and stuff like that. Yeah, but now she looks like Dolly Parton. She's I guess a music star and a movie star and everything star.
Yeah, it's like big hair, like it's like the mansion is entirely white. Yeah.
Right, including your hair. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And in this interview, she admits that being a star is great, but it's a little lonely. And she catches sight of Dan outside, asks, like who that was, but Wheeze is like, nobody important, baby. Right. But she was sure it was Dan.
Yeah.
Right. And Keenan, to your point, I think in this version, it's much more overt that she is being manipulated.
It feels like in this version that the entire world is against her. Like in the other versions, like if someone comes and lies to Faust or Faustus, or someone comes and does something, like we see that they are either Mephistopheles in disguise, or that they're enchanted by Mephistopheles or something like that. But this feels like everyone is conspiring against her. So, like her band is against her in addition to Wheeze, and like even this like Rolling Moss, so like Rolling Stone like reporter, like she seems to, like she's looking at us like, oh, that looks kind of like Dan, and then the reporter's like, no, don't look at that, like talk to me over here. Yeah. So it's like everyone in the music world is the devil.
Right. Yeah. Is that like maybe they don't have like an explicit contract, but they're like, I don't know, they want to like they're working to like keep Jan.
Yeah. They're there to corrupt innocent young Jan. That's the function of what it means to be in the movie, the music business.
Right. Innocent young you, listener. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like with Tom Walker, and even before that with like Faust, you get the sense that these people are damned even before the devil gets there.
Right.
Right. Tom Walker's an asshole, so of course the devil would come for him. All the versions of Faust deserve to go to hell, like I said. Jabez Stone started out decent, but like the devil knew that with like very little pushing, he could become another Miser Peabody was the other guy, right? Like all of these people damned themselves with minimal help from the devil, right? He just facilitated. Here, it feels more sinister on the devil's part, like which is a weird thing to say, but like that's what I mean. Like this is the first one of these where the devil is playing dirty.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really fair. And then that has become a huge part of the devil mythos here, right? Like they're gonna play dirty to win the contract, and then like even in non-literal devil contracts, like Faustian contracts, like Ursula, with Little Mermaid or whatever. Like, there's what's in the contract that maybe Arrow doesn't understand, but Ursula like gets in there to try to even win by the rules of the devil, like of the devil's contract by breaking the rules of the devil's contract.
Right. Yeah. So I think like from here on out, like it's like the devil is. Like the devil was the father of lies always, but like before this, you got the sense that like, well, he he keeps his word like when you're selling your soul.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But here it's like, nah, he's gonna cheat here too.
Right. And I guess that, that comes from originally, like going way, way back to the beginning, our ideas of the Christian devil, right? So if you accept in Job that the Satan is the devil, the big D, right?
Right.
He's still working within the confines there with God.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, again, you can reinterpret it and look like, oh, this is kind of like a bet between God and the devil, but not really. If you're looking just at the text itself, it's hard to really, really say that, right?
Right.
I mean, it's like, and the devil is just putting these things in motion, but the devil isn't like, hey, hey, demon friends, like, we're going to play this trick and don't tell God I'm doing this because we're supposed to win this bet and God can't know that or anything like that. He's doing this in full view of God and punishing Job with God's permission and maybe even like God, just executing what God wants to do.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, how his character has changed, like even in this short span of time,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah. Speaking of short spans of time, and Jan's like meteoric, like literal meteoric rise to fame. Right now, it's already the big night, and we sort of go through this montage of songs and genres. She's Kiss at one point.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. She's got the Kiss makeup on.
And then on what appears to be her final song, it's this like soft, sad ballad. Who's this supposed to look like here?
So at this like Hollywood Bowl type like Roxy Meadow Marathon thing, I don't know. It looks a little like Streisand to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm not gay enough to know all of Streisand's 70s looks.
But it's a very recognizable, like, this is, like kind of like the show stopping, like it's the final song. It's like very, like pull at your heartstrings type thing.
Right.
And we see like in the crowd, everyone's like kind of like, wiping away a tear and, and all this stuff.
They love it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's when our devil shows up as some kind of bird of prey. He reminds Jan of their bargain and she makes a run for it and he chases after her, changing his shape. He's a bird, he's a cat, he's a fish, he's a rhino. The animators are either like loving this or hating this. I don't know. Like
how much work there is to do?
How much, like, because it looks amazing, right? It's giving me like, Merlin and Madame Mim vibes.
Yeah, absolutely.
He even has like the color scheme of like Madame Mim.
Yeah, that's
with the pink and the white,
Oh, yeah, you're right. But that's transformation. I'm sure that's an animator's, dream job is to do that. Yeah. Unless they don't give them enough time to actually do it. But yeah, it's
dream
fun.
Job. Like if you had all the time and the resources and all the money, which you almost never do. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But I want to point out, so when the devil comes in as this bird who's trying to eat her, all of the other creatures can see it and they run screaming away from this Hollywood Bowl situation. So I think that's interesting. So even if my kind of thesis is right that the whole world is kind of corrupted around here, they're still bodily afraid of the devil.
Right, like he's here in the flesh now,
right.
And like we might have been like influenced by him, but now he's like actually here.
Yeah, he's a bird, he's a plane, he's a cat, he's a Superman.
Exactly. But I also like took this as this could be like also like her public shaming. Like now, like the audience knows like, oh, she's this good because she sold her soul.
Right. There's something of that in the contract scene. Again, we're not supposed to really track it very much, but there's something along those lines of like, you'll become the greatest, and the moment you become the greatest is when the contract ends or something.
Right. Yeah.
So it's as Streisand, it's as Barbara.
Okay, there we go.
She's at her peak.
Yep. But yeah, he catches her and reminds her of the terms. Like we didn't hear about them. So now we actually hear about them. At midnight of the night of her greatest triumph, that's when he gets her soul.
So we hear it here.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, which is where like you would think that'd be like kind of like a through line all the way, Yeah, because there's this one point where like Weeze is like, "This is the biggest night," and she's like, "Where do I go from here?" And she's like, "Oh, don't worry, right?" So yeah, so you would think it's like, oh, you like we'd be tracking that, but no, this is when we find it out.
Okay,
but yeah, Jan points out that it's not midnight yet, and we see that this devil does not like technicalities. Right? But again, those are your terms, devil. Anyway, but yeah, they leave her to say goodbye to her friends, if she has any left, right? Says Weeze, and she bumps into Daniel. What are you always doing here? Right? He must have been out there the whole time strumming his guitar. He's like, and I love this. He's like, "What's new with you?" And she's like, "I sold my soul to the devil." And he's like, "Wow, that's heavy." But he's like just strumming away. He's doing the song that they were doing at the beginning, right? So this is this song showing up again. He vows to help her, and then suddenly it's midnight and the devil's there. But Daniel demands a trial because this is a democratic forest. That's nice. I remember democracy.
You remember due process?
Yeah,
habeas
due
corpus,
process
etc.
and habeas corpus.
Jury of your peers.
Yeah. You think we're joking, folks? Well, maybe we're not joking. I don't know. People in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, no. This is pretty similar to the Daniel Webster trial. The devil agrees, but on the condition that he picks the judge and the jury.
Uh-huh.
But here, the jury is only 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, don't worry, we're going to fix that later.
Why do you think it's only 3 people?
I think because this is animated and that would take a lot of work.
That's what I think too. Just like, let's have 3 jurors. It's a lot easier.
Of course. No, I could I sympathize with the animators. I was like, you're gonna make us make 12 distinct characters? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, they're all things that artists hate, right? So first we got a rat who owned a record company and cheated its singers, right? A leech who was an agent who bled his singers dry.
I have never seen an anthropomorphic leech before until this movie.
This thing looks terrifying. And Vicky Viper is the only one named. And she was a big star until she lost her voice. She hates everyone, especially other singers.
Especially other singers,
yeah.
Right. And she looks like Cher.
Yes.
She looks exactly like Cher.
What are you saying, movie? What are you saying?
What are you saying? Say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Dan points out that there need to be 12, and so the devil just multiplies them twice. And yeah, the trial is going just as badly as it did for Daniel Webster. All of Daniel Mouse's objections are overruled, and it seems like Wheeze, as the judge, is only listening to the devil. Mm-hmm. But then at the darkest moment, Daniel takes out that guitar and he does a reprise of the song we heard at the very beginning, right? Mm-hmm, Look where the music can take you, right? And this time it's like the full song we get to hear. And it's like it's not, the music isn't just coming from the guitar. It's like, now it's the new song, right? Coming from everywhere. Yeah.
From everywhere. Like they knew it before, they sang it before, but they've never really felt it before, Lester.
Yes. No, that is like
almost taken away from them. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so we're kind of like hearing it for real the first time. I don't care how corny this is. I love this. This is a perfect adaptation of Daniel Webster's heartfelt speech in the story, right? That melts the hearts of the judge and the jury, right? It's the song from the beginning, the one they were playing at that empty bar, right? Except now all the animals are singing with them. Right. The devil raises up more spirits and they immediately start dancing, right? Even Wheeze is caught up in it, which I love. Like he particularly checks the boxes of a perfect toady, right? Even, the box where like it turns out that he has a heart after all, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Reminds me of Smee in Peter Pan when Wendy is, singing about mothers. Actually, all the pirates were getting emotional at that part, right? Except Captain Hook, but
right. Mm-hmm.
But I love
even
that.
in Hook when they when Peter Pan shows back up to London or whatever, and Shmee is there. That's Shmee, I suppose, right?
I think so. I think it like
we're supposed to know that.
Yeah, right.
And even Captain Hook has been killed,
mm-hmm,
and Shmee is still like gives Peter Pan a look, and he's like, "Hey, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, right. Like,
you killed
job.
My best friend,
yeah.
right?"
But no, I mean, that's the look I think Wheeze gives us at the end.
Absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no, I love that trope that the lesser villain is less of a villain and actually a big softie. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of which, right? There's 2 shots in this film which make it look like the devil is also about to turn. Do you see what I mean? Like on the YouTube copy, it's at 22:38, so 22 minutes and 38 seconds. He's sort of looking at everyone dancing, and every time I half expect him to just like shrug and also start dancing.
Yeah, he's a little bit like, I guess people like this, so...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then Daniel says, Your Honor, I say that music can save your soul, and a song from the heart beats the devil every time. Mm-hmm. And again, we get this shot of a very like sheepish, deflated, defeated devil, but like defeated like he's been convinced. Mm-hmm. Like not defeated like, no, like oh, maybe,
Yeah, so, both in Tom Walker and Daniel Webster, right, like, there's not really... They don't really attack the contract, right? We've talked about that. Right. There's one version that you and I agree with where they win on the legal merits of the case that we'll get to later, right? Mm-hmm. So keep an eye on the season for what that is if we didn't already say it. But but in this one, again, it's like jury nullification through the music can save your soul, which makes a lot of sense for what this is, right?
Yes, yeah. And it's, and it's mushy, but I love it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just keep on looking of this, like, it's like just like a still image, like maybe the devil blinks like once, but like it looks like he is about to, like his heart is about to melt, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe that's what Wheeze thinks because he declares them free. He's like, crazy, I declare you free. And, and they hug and everyone claps. And then you get this look, Wheeze has got like his hands clasped and he's just looking at these 2 young lovers and he's like, aw. And then we hear a growl and we see the devil is not happy about this. I love the animation here. Like he points at the jury and he says, I'll tend to you later. And I like how they hiss at him.
Right.
Just a reminder that the devil doesn't have any friends, right? He has slaves, and they do his bidding, right?
Well,
and they also hate him.
It's like, yeah, if the devil has eternal control over you, what's the difference if you hiss at him or not? Like you're still going to be in eternal pain or whatever,
right?
So,
yeah,
yeah. Why be nice to him?
Right, exactly, right. But man, like I don't know, like I don't think Wheeze hates him. I think Wheeze thinks he can fix him.
Well, Wheeze again is not a demon. Wheeze has not been condemned to hell yet. He just is on Earth and like, oh, I could fix him. That's good.
But he goes back to the same like they all go down down below.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's like he just goes there to hang out with the devil.
Yeah. So when the devil loses, all the demons get sucked down into the earth, and then but we see that Wheeze gets sucked down, but he comes up to grab his little English like barrister wig.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he chooses to go down there.
Right.
Like,
I think.
Oh, sorry everybody, and a sheepish little look like it's a living.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. But before that, we get this animation where the devil's head turns all the way around.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And his features contort as he gets like angrier and angrier. He turns like from like purple to black at one point, right?
Yeah, and like his little like bumps on his face become tentacles and then turn back into parts of his face. It's crazy. I mean, so it's only for a really brief moment, but
this part alone is just like is very impressive.
Very impressive, and you could see like if we did see this when we were kids, we might have been haunted by that image.
I think so. Yeah, this would be one of those like large Marge moments. you know what I'm talking about? Like
yeah.
But just Google that, folks. Large Marge, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yeah. But yeah, the jury gets like sort of swept up like smoke with him, and I love the screech they make again. Like they're scary evil spirits, but they're also prisoners.
Right.
Like that's a side of demons that we don't see, right?
Yeah.
And we always see them like loving their jobs, right? But here it's like they got to go home, but it hurts to go home.
But then Vicky Viper, she lost her voice, so she hates everybody.
Of course, it's been established. Yeah. And yeah, Keenan, you pointed out my favorite shot. It's the second to last shot. The devil is gone. The fire has dissipated, but Wheeze pops back up because he forgot his barrister wig, and he gives them Jan and Dan this sympathetic look, like he's sorry for everything.
Sorry.
And he's also like glad Jan and Dan are together, right? And they won. And he shrugs and disappears back through the hole.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he goes down. He chooses to go down there.
Yes.
It's not like a poof or anything where the devil is like, remember that he's not there. Like
it didn't pull him back under or anything.
Right.
Like
I'm going down myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Now, I'm going to deal with my own complicated relationship. It's like, I know how it is. Yeah. But yeah, and then we end on Jan and Dan hugging, right? And Iris out.
Yeah, and we freeze frame on their little iris, and it says, "A song from the heart beats the devil every time."
Aww.
And we have their big song, their folk music song, playing over the credits.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the Devil and Daniel Mouse, folks.
Yeah, everyone's so happy. The band members who had been working for the devil are now friends with her, I guess, and she gets to keep the band, I guess.
She
gets to keep her fans, but she doesn't owe the devil anything, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
That's pretty good.
The devil was cheated.
No, Lester, music saves the soul or something.
Yeah. But no, I'm really glad we watched this for our Devil and season.
Yeah.
This was a nice kind of like lighthearted take on the Daniel Webster story.
Right. And I'm always interested in children's cinema. I taught children's cinema as a class once, and the kind of lessons that people assume that children want. Grown-ups are making films primarily, and they make these assumptions about what kids want and what's too much for them. What lessons are we trying to give to kids? It's just so different from when it's aimed at adults. And so there's the part of it that is like, today's music bad, music from 15 years ago when your parents were still cool, good, right? That part of it's very interesting. Music from today is devilish, right? But also this idea that like this general children's audience of North America is ready for a movie about the devil, but not one about God.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Because God is not in this.
There's no God here.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know. I guess you could argue it's like, oh, he's in the, in the hearts and the, in the songs and, and like the love and the empathy and everything like that.
Right.
But I think that's kind of like how they get around it. Like, it's like, oh, I'd give anything to be a rock star rather than I give my soul. And the thing that beats the devil is, kindness and compassion and music and stuff like that.
Right. So the Christian God is implied, I guess, or what? But it's kept off screen and not explicit so that it can appeal to everybody. It can appeal to, Christians, Jews, Muslims, like atheists or whatever, right? If the child doesn't have... like it's not packaged as like a Bible story or like a supplement to Sunday school or something like that.
Right. Because everybody understands devil bad.
Right.
Right. Like, even if you don't believe in the devil or, he's not part of your religion, like, oh, devil bad.
Devil bad.
Devil very bad. But like, like as soon as you introduce, it's like, now the ultimate good is what I think the ultimate good is.
Right. Oh, should I really be listening to this? Right. Yeah. And a lot of it is like the parents choosing for their kids as well. So it's like, oh, do I like everything? So if it like comes from a certain sect of the Abrahamic religions, if it's made by, I don't know, like Baptists or something. Right. It's like, oh, I don't know if I agree with everything with the Baptists. So should the kids be watching this? Right. But everybody could agree, devil bad.
Yeah. Right. It's very, very.
Even if you are from a religion where the devil doesn't exist, like atheism or atheism, agnosticism. Right.
Yeah. So stick with us, folks. Next week we're going to be looking at The Devil and Robert Johnson. This is one that I don't know a whole lot about.
I'm looking forward to you reading about him.
All right, so I'm gonna lean on Keenan, and he's gonna guide me through this.
And we're gonna lean on you because this is about music and pop music, and I don't have a lot of the vocabulary for it, but I think the Robert Johnson as a historical person is super interesting, and then Robert Johnson as a source of myth is also really interesting.
All right, I'm really excited. But for now, folks, this has been another episode of The Devil's Details. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can summon me in all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz, and you can invoke me on Letterboxd and Instagram as Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, find more of our shows and other really cool podcasts at True Story FM, or you can drop us a message at Banana for Scale Mail, that's MAIL, @gmail.com. We got our Facebook listener group, Banana for Scale. It's a community for all of our shows, including this one. It's a private group, but just request to join and we'll let you into the infernal family. If you want more, consider joining us at truestory.fm/join and look for Banana for Scale. That's us. You get bonus episodes of all of our shows, access to our Discord, and you get your episodes a week early. Pretty cool, just $5. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? We're not even asking for your souls. Just give us a 5 pentagram rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. That and sharing the show by word of mouth or on social media helps our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. Until next time, folks, love and hisses. Mwah.